Hello, my friend, and welcome to the CEO Soapbox Podcast, episode number 24. I'm Neda, your host, and this is where we talk honestly about how to build a business that grows with more clarity, stronger decisions, better execution, and a hell of a lot less wasted effort. When a business is clear on where it is going and how it wants to grow, things start working better. The message lands better, the plan makes more sense, and marketing stops carrying the weight it was never meant to carry. And that, my friend, brings me to today's episode. We are talking about why marketing gets messy when businesses skip the strategy, skip the plan, and go straight to tactics. And more importantly, why so many businesses expect tactics to do the job of a strategy. And then wonder why the marketing feels busy, but it produces no tangible outcome. Better marketing does not start with more tactics. It starts with better decisions. So let's get into it. You see, a lot of businesses do not actually have a marketing problem. Oh no. You know what they have? They have a thinking problem. They are asking tactics to do the job of a strategy. They are asking campaigns to fix unclear direction. They're asking content, ads, websites, emails, marketing agencies, or their marketing managers to create traction when the business itself has not properly decided what it is trying to say, who it is trying to reach, how it wants to compete, or what kind of growth it is actually trying to create. And that's why marketing seems busy and active, but is not producing and effective. Because tactics works best when they're sitting on top of a clear strategy and a real plan. Without that, you're not really doing marketing properly. You're just doing stuff. And doing stuff is not the same as building demand. Now, this is where I think a lot of CEOs, founders, and leaders get themselves into mess without meaning to. Because the business starts feeling the pressure. So you want more lead, more growth, stronger visibility. You want better return on your ad spend or your marketing spend. You want marketing to stop feeling like a black hole of activity and start pulling proper commercial weight. Completely fair. But then the conversation starts in a wrong place. Should we run ads? Should we post more on LinkedIn or whatever social media you're in? Should we fix the website? Should we hire an agency? Or should we do SEO? Or should we launch a campaign? Another one? Or should we create a lead magnet? Should we send more emails? Should we be doing more videos? Maybe. But those are tactic questions. And tactic questions asked too early are where a lot of waste begins. Because before you get into tactics, there are two things that have to exist first. Yep, you guessed it right. Strategy, then plan, then tactics. That order matters more than a lot of leaders think, because strategy is about deciding the game you actually want to play. You start with, where are we trying to win? Who are we trying to win with? What do we want to be known for? What kind of growth are we actually trying to create? What kind of work fits the business we want to build? What kind of work looks good in revenue but makes the business heavier, messier, or less profitable? That is strategy. Then you answer those questions, then comes to the plan. The plan says, right, given those decisions, given those answers to those questions, how are we going to take this to the market in a coherent way? What message leads? What offer leads? What proof support it? Where will we show up? How will marketing support sales? How will sales reinforce the same message? How do we make sure delivery or service can actually back up what is being promised? What are we doing first, second, and not at all? That is your plan. Then tactics come after that. Ads, content, email, SEO, video, events, partnership, ad bans, webinars, lead magnets, landing pages, social media, campaigns. Those are tactics. Useful? Yes. Important? Of course. But they are still third in line. And when business skips the first two and jumps straight to the third, marketing ends up carrying weight it was never meant to carry. That's the issue. And I want to stay on this because it's such a common pattern. A business says, I want better marketing. But when you scratch the surface, nobody has properly decided the fundamentals. The ideal client is still too broad. The offer is still a bit fuzzy. The positioning is too generic. The value story sounds like everyone else's. The business has not properly decided what it wants more of and what it wants less of. Sales is saying one thing, marketing is saying another. Service and delivery is living through a third reality altogether, and the founder, the owner, the CEO is still stepping in to explain half of it manually. That is not a tactic issue, my friend. That is a lack of strategic clarity and having a plan. And this is where I get a bit fired up. Okay, you should see my face. So I'm fired up because I think a lot of business owners have been sold a very lazy version of marketing. Post more or be consistent. Run ads. Show up more. Increase your visibility. Build your funnel. Optimize that landing page. Create more content. Look, all right, none of those things are wrong in themselves, but they are by themselves are incomplete because if the business is vague, guarantee you the marketing will be vague too. If the strategy is vague, the plan will wobble. And if the plan wobbles, the tactics end up guessing. That is why you can have good people doing decent work and still get underwhelming results. You might have a best agency. You must have a best marketing manager. But you still can get underwhelming results, not because they're useless, but because the business has not given marketing a clear enough strategy, a proper plan, or a solid direction to execute against. And if you're listening to this and you're the CEO, founder, MD, that part sits with you. Not in a blaming way. I'm not blaming you, but in a leadership way. Maybe I'm blaming you in a leadership way. Because you are the one sitting there setting direction. You are the one approving the spend. You are the one deciding what kind of business this is becoming. You are the one deciding whether the team is working from clarity or from assumptions. That matters. Because when the strategic thinking is weak, this is what I always say, always be strategic. When the strategic thinking is weak, the whole business starts compensating for it. Marketing, this is a big thing. Marketing fills the gap with more activities and on assumption. Sales fills the gaps with more explanation. Service and delivery team fills the gaps with, by cleaning up expectations that should have been set properly earlier. And the CEO and the founder fills the gaps by jumping in to clarify, to rescue, to translate, to nudge, and steady the whole thing again and again and again and again. From the outside, this can still look okay. The business may still be trading well. There may still be leads coming in. The sales team may still be converting enough to keep things moving. The marketing dashboard or reports may still look busy. There may still be growth on paper. But underneath it, you are creating drag. And drag in business is very, 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 did I say very expensive? It costs time, confidence, alignment. It costs energy, margin. It costs decision quality. And over time, it costs momentum. Because the business keeps spending extra effort compensating for clarity that should have existed earlier. That compensation shows up everywhere. You know where? Longer sales calls, because the message did not do enough heavy lifting. More qualification because targeting was too broad. More back and forth because the offer was not framed clearly enough. This is a big one. More price pressure because the value story sounded generic. More random opportunities being pursued because the business has not really decided what good fit growth looks like. More founder involvement. This is a big one. If you're a CEO, you know this. More involvement because the business still needs a human translation layer at the top. This is not a clean growth. This is strain pretending to be progress or growth. And I believe this is a part of a lot of smart business owners. This is the part a lot of small business owners need to hear. My friend, marketing is not there to figure out the business for you. It cannot decide your strategy. It cannot magically create sharp commercial positioning out of half-made leadership decisions. It cannot rescue a business that has not decided what it wants to stand for, who it wants to win with, and how it wants to compete. That is 100% leadership work. And I do not mean that in some fluffy vision sense. I mean it in a real commercial leadership, the kind that decides where the business is going and what should support that direction. Because once those decisions are clear, marketing becomes far more useful. Trust me, it's amazing. Now the marketing has something solid to work with. And if you're a marketing manager, if you're an agency owner, you know what I'm saying, right? Now the message has shape. Now the campaigns have purpose. Now the content is more focused. Now sale is not doing all the heavy lifting alone. Now the delivery and service is dealing with work that fits more cleanly. Now growth feels more intentional instead of more chaotic. That's the difference. So, let's challenge the usual thinking for a minute. A lot of leaders, a lot of CEOs, owners still think the way to improve marketing is to ask questions like, what should we post? What channels should we use? Should we run ads? How often should we email? Do we need a rebrand? Do we need someone doing socials? Do we need a better agency? Again, maybe. But there are not starting point questions, which I talked about it before. Those are execution questions. The better starting questions, are you ready? So if you're a CEO, are you ready for this? The better starting questions are, what are we trying to achieve commercially? What kind of growth do we actually want? Who are we best placed to win with? What kind of clients or work create the best outcome for this business? What do we want to be known for? What problem do we solve that actually matters to our buyers? What value, my friend, do we create that someone will pay properly for? What are we not trying to be? What are we no longer trying to sell? Where are we too broad? Where does a message go vague? What does sales keep having to explain manually? What kind of work bringing revenue but closely and quietly creates drag? This is where the conversation should start, because that's where your strategy lives. And once the strategy gets clearer, then you can build a proper plan. And this part matters just as much, my friend. You cannot skip the plan and go from strategy to tactic, because strategy without a plan still goes nowhere. You can know who you want to target, what you want to be known for, and what kind of value you create. But if you do not turn that into a coherent plan, the business still gets messy in execution. So the plan is where you start answering things like, what message are we taking to the market first? What offers are we leading with? What proof do we have that actually supports the promise that we're making here? Which channels genuinely make sense for our buyers? What is marketing responsible for? What is sales responsible for? How do we make sure delivery can fulfill what's being promised? What is the order of operations here? What matters now and what can wait? Because one of the other trap businesses fall into is trying to do too much at once. They want to target everyone. And I can see you nodding. They want to target everyone, say everything, launch everywhere, fix all channels, improve the website, run ads, create content, do videos, do event, do email, do SEO, do app ads, do partnership. And sure, maybe all of those things matter eventually, but not all at once. A good plan creates sequence. It says this first, then that. It says this matters now, that matters later. It says this is the lead message, this is the support message, this is the offer, this is the proof, this is where we will focus, and these are the distractions we're not touching yet. That kind of sequencing is powerful because tactics work better when they are not random. They work better when they know what job they're there to do. And that is what the plan gives them. A job, a purpose, a direction. Without that, tactics just become motion. You can be visible without being compelling. You can be active without being strategic. You can be spending money without building anything particularly useful. And I have seen this play out inside plenty of real businesses. The marketing team is doing things. The agency is producing work. The founder is frustrated. Sales is saying the leads are mixed. Delivery is wondering why the expectations coming in are off. And nobody is technically wrong here, okay? They're just all working downstream of fuzzy decisions. And that is why I keep saying that is not mainly a marketing issue. It's a strategy and planning issue first. Marketing just ends up wearing the symptoms. So if you are listening to this and thinking, right, fair call, where the hell do I start? Start by forcing clarity in 3 layers. First, you guessed it, strategy. Before you touch the tactic, get clear on the commercial fundamentals. So again, I'm going to repeat this. What kind of business are we trying to build? What kind of client do we want more of? What kind do we want less of? This is important too. Where do we have the strongest right to win? What do we want to be known for? What problems are we solving that matters enough for buyers to care? What value do we create that people will actually pay for? What kind of work supports margin? Don't forget that. What kind of work supports margin, the business fit, and clean execution? And what kind of work keeps making us busy, but does not move the business where we want it to go? That's where I would start. Not with channels, not with content calendar, not with campaign ideas, with clarity. Then move to the second layer, and that's your plan. Once the strategy is clear, ask, how do we take that to the market in a way that actually makes sense? What message leads, what offer leads, what proof, all of that we talked about. That's your plan. Then, only then, you move to tactics. Now you can decide whether you want stronger content, better campaign, sharper website, paid ads, SEO, email nurturing, outbound, better case studies, more videos, and cleaner sales collateral. And they can come together. Tactics can come together. And if you're a marketing manager and if you're a marketing expert, you own an agency, you're probably I just probably gave you eye twitch saying, hang on, Neda, SEOs and paid ads. SEO is important. Email is important. I get it. But the talk in here is you need strategy, plan, and then we move to tactic. So the reason we do that is because they're not random active efforts. Now they're part of a commercial system. And that's when marketing starts becoming genuinely useful. My friend, marketing in the business is the most important thing. It's not an operational cost. It's the strategic, one of the strategic ways, the commercial system that you need to have. Okay? We don't want a busy one though. We want a useful one. And I would also say this. Do not dump this whole mess on the marketing manager or the agency and expect them to sort it out alone. They can absolutely help. Agency owners, marketing managers, they're amazing people. They understand marketing and they can absolutely help you. They can challenge the assumptions. They can sharpen the messages. They can help structure campaigns. They can bring market insight. They can spot where the positioning is weak. They know. They can tell you where the content is too broad or the offer is too muddy. But they should not be the ones deciding the core commercial direction of the business for you. That sits with the leadership. That sits with the owner. That sits with the CEO. Because if you are the owner, the CEO and the founder and the MD, whatever you want to call yourself, you do not get to stay vague at the top and then be annoyed when the market experiences you vaguely too. That's not how this works. The business can only communicate as clearly as it has been led. That line might sting a bit, but it's true. And honestly, it is also good news because it means this is fixable. You do not need to burn everything down. You do not need to panic. You do not need to change agencies every 6 months and pretend that is a growth strategy. You do not need a new tactic every time something underperforms. What you need clearer thinking, better decisions, a stronger plan, the better execution. That is the order. And once the business gets that right, a lot starts to improve. Marketing becomes more focused, sales conversations become cleaner and shorter cycles. The value story gets stronger. The business becomes easier to understand. Delivery gets better fit work. Teams stop pulling in different direction. And that's where the growth start feeling more deliberate instead of more reactive. That is the real opportunity here. Not just better marketing, a better run business. That's all. I'm all for the better run business because this is never just about promotion. It's about commercial clarity. And commercial clarity makes everything works better. So if I had to land this into one main takeaway, it would be this. Before you spend more on tactics, get clearer on the strategy, and build the plan. Let me repeat that again. Before you spend more on tactics, which was your ad and content and all that stuff, get clearer on the strategy and build the plan. Because the tactic, you know that by now, because the tactic cannot carry a business that has not decided how it wants to grow. Or even more simply, do not ask tactics to rescue weak strategy. Start with clarity, build the plan, and let marketing do its job, which they're very good at. That is the work. And if you're listening to this and quietly thinking, yeah, we've probably been asking marketing to do so much with too little clarity, then that's good. That is a useful realization. Because once you see the real issue, you stop wasting time solving the wrong one. And that is usually the moment things start getting better. Thanks for joining me on the Soapbox today. If this episode made you think, please subscribe and share it with someone else who needs the reminder. And if your business is asking tactic to do the job of strategy, come and find me on LinkedIn. Fixing that is my lane. Wishing you an amazing week ahead. Until next time, my friends, stay curious and stay kind, especially to yourself. Bye for now.